Hello and welcome to Steal My Playbook. I'm really excited today because we have Mark Choueke here. And we're going to just jump straight in. Mark, tell me about the best campaign you've ever run.
Lovely, Marcus. I will do. But I've got. I have got. I want to add to the best. I want to add to the story of the best campaign I ever run, because the best campaign I ever ran, which I'll tell you about, give you all the detail, talk you through the best fun I ever had, the most ROI I ever achieved, the outstanding visuals and feel and creativity of the campaign. I swear on my life, for good reason, potentially, it can never happen again. And it will never happen again. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the campaign because I know that Steal My Playbook is about the best campaigns we've ever run as marketers. But I want to talk a little bit about why it will never happen again and how campaigns look now, if that's okay with you and your audience.
Absolutely. I think people can get fundamentals from it, and that will be useful. And
right.
it'll be a good story regardless.
So look, let's talk about the campaign. You and I have known each other for a number of years now, and we've talked a lot about some of the great stuff that we've experienced and a lot of the great stuff we've seen. There's still been no greater moment in my life, B2B, for sheer fun, exhilaration, and oh my God, what the fuck are we doing, than the Dump Frank campaign that I ran at Qubit. Qubit, now known as Covio, I believe. For the time I was there, 2014 to 2016, we were a software as a service, customer experience technology for online retailers, right? And it was a brilliant, for me, it was an absolute learning curve. I'd come straight out of journalism, where I'd been editor of Marketing Week and written for the Nationals. And then I'd gone into advertising agencies and PR agencies, which really wasn't my thing, but it was a good 2.5-year stint, kind of understanding how to be commercial and all that stuff. But it was never going to be my life. It was just a little bit too, I don't think I was cut out to be an ad man. And then in 2014, I got this opportunity to come into B2B SaaS, where I've never left since, right? And Qubit was this, I don't know if it was, I feel like a bit wary of looking and feeling and sounding like a granddad going back in my day. But I do feel like at Qubit, everybody who's left since, everybody I know that was there with me, we all agree it was a little bit perfect. It was like 4 Googlers, best in class in their fields, joined together, put together this amazing company, and the talent was just scary. It was so exhilarating to be around such smart people the whole time. You felt challenged, but you also felt like the world was our oyster. It was a bit of a cool club. We felt like we were, I don't know if everybody felt like this at the time, like around 10 years ago, but we felt like we were the ones, and this was the technology. It was only a matter of time before the world discovered us, and we were going to be, sold for the next unicorn. And we had everything going for us. We had beautiful headquarters here in New York and LA and all the rest of it. And against that backdrop of me learning to go from sort of journalism and comms to deep down in the basement data and, SaaS thinking, SaaS metrics, investment, all that stuff, raising money constantly, we had to try things. There was a lot of experimentation. That was really what appealed at the time, because I'd gone from being in journalism where, honestly, a big new idea would take 7 seconds to be cleared. You'd walk into your editor's office and say, listen, I think I can get us a story on this, or I think that we might be able to put a series together on this. And there might be some turning the air blue with like, how much is it going to cost? But essentially, you'd get a yes or a no straight there. When I went into agency life, I'd go to the chairman and say, listen, do you know what? I think I've got this idea. And they'd go, I love it. So you'd go, right, cool. So that's a green light, right? But they'd go, no. What are you talking about? So put it on a 1-pager, write it down, put it on a 1-pager, and we'll socialize it for the next 6 months. And I'd say, sorry, you want me to write it down? Like, what? You want socialize it? And it would be like 6 months of getting people agreeing and tweaking. And it's like, wow, this is hard work, man. This doesn't feel as entrepreneurial as we boast that we are. So then I went back into a really, really fast agile, sometimes stupid, but always at least agile environment where ideas and strategies were born on sort of stairwells between meetings and carried out. Marketing teams could run super fast. They would come up with a campaign idea, put the collateral together, do the YouTube trailer video, host the webinar, and put it out on a bloody platform by lunchtime that would take 6 weeks in agency. I was like, this is, if nothing else, yes, we could fit some more strategy around it and some more grown-up thinking at times, but if nothing else, this is it. I keep using this word exhilarating. It was really, really fresh. And so there was an appetite to try things and innovate. And the story I tell, I wrote it into the book because the book I wrote, which is I won't plug it. We can put it in the notes later. But I wrote a book on B2B marketing, and I put it as one of the chapters because I still get a lot of mileage out of telling the story. I got a call from the CEO's office at Qubit one morning to my desk, direct. CEO's PA says the boss wants to see you. Any more detail? No, that's it. So I'm walking up the stairs going, right, okay, what the fuck have I done that's going to cause me grief now? What have I done in the last 2 weeks that might actually come back and smack me in the face? And I couldn't think. I drew a blank. So I walked in and the CEO was there. Very, very cool guy. Like, one of the reasons this can never happen again is because this CEO was literally there to support any stupid, crazy idea that could make us look bigger.
What a great appointment, though.
What more could you want? Like,
love it.
He was a never say no kind of guy. He was you could see the light of excitement spark in his eyes when you spoke, and you knew you had it. And let others be the naysayers. You've got the CEO on side. Very, very smart guy. And he said, listen, I want you to come in and shut the door. There's 2 or 3 others, senior leadership there. I need you to sit down. I'm going to tell you something, and you cannot tell anybody else in the company. They've got to stay in the dark. So however crazy this sounds, you need to keep it to yourself. I said, right. He said, I need you to go to Utah. And before you go to, and I was like, where's Utah? He's like, and I also, before you go there, I need you in New York for a week. So I need you away for the 10 days. Is your wife and baby going to be okay with that? I was like, yeah, I'm sure they'll be fine. And he said, not everybody in the room thinks this is a good plan. I'm going to talk to you about. So yeah, okay, I'm signing an NDA in my head and thinking, if you need to get me excited about a brief, this is how you do it. I feel like 007, right? And so he says to me, in 2 weeks' time, Adobe, clearly a massive giant in our space, customer experience, doesn't even know we exist. Adobe is going to be having its annual convention, its Adobe conference, Adobe Summit in Salt Lake City in Utah in 2 weeks' time. I need you to go there with a team that you've handpicked and find a way to disrupt it, because all of those 5,000 delegates that have paid to be there are our potential customers and they don't even know we exist. Okay. And he said, and we've got a plan as to how to do it. Now, at the time, Adobe's customer experience platform was kind of a bunch of acquisitions that had been stolen from other places and bolted together, smashed together on the market. String of acquisitions. Ours was our sort of end-to-end customer experience piece was sort of seamlessly integrated, built up from the ground around the customer. So we felt like we had the edge whenever we were in a pitch. But again, they didn't know anything about us. Rather naughtily, but not untrue, we decided we were going to call them the Frankencloud, and we were going to find 25 actors in Salt Lake City to come to a spot that we owned with absolutely no clue about what was about to go on, and we were going to make them up like Frankenstein's and put them outside the convention place in the center of Salt Lake City, and we were going to make some noise. And so I needed to go to New York and find 2 guys that I could trust. I did, in a fellow called Andrews Hornicky and another bloke who I love very much, who when I when we do the recording, you can edit this bit out, but whose name I can't remember, and I will. It was lovely. And we set about trying to figure out how we were going to do this. Now, we tried to book hotel rooms in Salt Lake City, but the convention was already booked up and every hotel room in the city was taken. We found an Airbnb with a garden, a nice little cottage on the edge of town. We hired a van. We did 2 weeks worth of shopping for 2 days because we knew we were going to get 20 guys in there. Plus, we found a movie makeup crew. We found an acting school and put an ad in the local. Get this for marketing. We put an ad in the local paper saying, if you are above 6 foot actor, and you want 2 days' work, highly paid, and you are willing to be flexible on the brief, come to this address at 4 a.m. on blah 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 blah. I got my 2 boys to phone up t-shirt shops in New York to try and find a way in time given to produce big t-shirts with dumpfrank.com on it. In fact, one day in New York while I was there trying to organize and I was sort of arguing over budget with the CMO, he was like, what about $35,000? I said, right, that's great. How'd you calculate that? He said, I literally pulled the idea out of my arse. I was like, great. Another reason why this can never happen again. I heard my 2 boys both on the phone trying to organize t-shirts, and he goes, dumpfrank.com. Yeah, umpfrank.com, all one word. Yeah, I'll hold. And I heard this guy going, there's somebody on the phone to my guy talking. Turns out they were both phoning the same t-shirt shop, ordering the same thing, trying to get a price. Anyway, we turned up a day before the summit. We flew in from different airports. We found each other. We hired a van. We went for a burger. We started making a plan. We'd hired a film company with drones to film the whole thing. We didn't know how any of this was going to go. There was one of the reasons, again, I'll cite later, that this can never happen again is that not everybody in the company who knew about this thought it was a good idea. The fear was, this is guerrilla marketing. It can go horribly wrong. It can make us look small, not big. We can look like idiots. And I was really, really sensitive to those fears. And I said to them, listen, if this looks like it's going south, I'll shut it down straight away and we'll leave town. You know, there was all sorts of admin to do. We had to find a permit from the local authority to have 25 guys standing on the pavement doing the Thriller dance. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are permits for that shit. So you have to. And on the day, these guys turned up at 4 a.m. The movie crew did, the makeup crew. We had hilarious scenes sort of watching these guys sort of half made up in green with like all the bits, just reading Time magazine that we'd left out for them. And by about 8 o'clock, we had our fully breakfasted, fully watered 25 guys. We drove them down to the Summit Center. They said, what do we do now, boss? I said, listen, here's the brief. You threaten and intimidate nobody. This is benign takeover of the Adobe Summit. You can't go in the conference hall at all. This is where we can stand. The coaches are going to come in their droves. Your job is literally say nothing but entertain. If anyone looks freaked out, you leave them alone. If anyone wants to have a word, you send them to me. Our guys did such a job. They were some of them were sort of high-fiving. Some of them were handing out roses. Some of them were hula hooping. One of them stole an ice cream cart and started serving ice creams, like cycling around. The Adobe guys came to move us on and ended up taking selfies with us and loving it. The cops came to move us on and ended up taking selfies for their kids. By halfway through, we got word from inside the conference hall that the only thing that people were talking about were those crazy dump Frankensteins outside. The reason they had dumpfrank.com on their t-shirts was because we had a microsite set up, 4 swipes. Type in dumpfrank.com, you get 4 swipes, you get to a demo, but in between there's these like lovely little cartoons that we'd made, like Frank is going to break down on you, Frank's not going to be a great partner, Frank's going to be this, try something else, and there's a demo. And our job
was there any data capture at all, like when they got to the final thing?
Form, demo. Our job literally was to be so noisy and loud and entertaining that you cannot cross the mall from the coach door to the front door of the conference without seeing us and going, what is dumpfrank.com? And as long as we can get there before they go in through all 8 doors, we've got them. So we did. we did everything we could. We used props. We did dances. We sort of we made shit up as we went along. We had no idea how we'd done, and at the end, we packed up and left town. 2 days worth, and we flew home not knowing how we'd done. Within 24 hours, the film crew came back with the first cut of the video with the drones lifting over the Adobe Summit and seeing us.
Yeah.
We knew that had we put minimal spend on YouTube behind it, on some AdWords, and I knew that by the time I walked into work on Monday, I knew we had a couple of thousand views of the video. I didn't know how else we'd done. I stood up in front of the all hands on Monday morning and said, guys, there's something we've executed on a mission last week that some of you don't know about. I'd like to take you through it. Here's a film. And I said at the end, all I know is that we've had a couple of thousand hits, and somebody spoke from the back of the hall and said, Mark, you've not looked recently. We've got 60,000 hits.
Oh, it went viral.
And within a couple of hours, that was 80,000, and it was growing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is no way of, attribution's hard in anyone's game.
Right.
From direct and indirect sort of attribution terms, we valued that spend at 30 to 1. The ratio, the return on investment is 30 to 1.
Times 30.
Huh?
Yeah. So every pound you put in, you got 30 back.
30 back. We signed several six-figure clients off the back of it. They cited the campaign. Big brands, Sephora, more. We hired Adobe senior sales executives off the back of it, saying, we are now, as Adobe, we are now in how to beat Qubit training. And we were tiny. Clients and prospects told us that, and delegates indeed told us that everybody tries to make noise every year at the Adobe Summit, and we were the only ones that ever remembered or got talked about. A lot of our clients asked us, "Can you send us Dump Frank T-shirts? Can you send us?" We loved it. But mostly the effect that I write about in the book, called Boring to Brave, was it gave us a sure footing and an emotional license to be braver from then on. We knew for that whole year, despite what, look, if you go to any board and say, look, we've got an estimated ROI in direct and indirect new business that we can attribute to this crazy stunt that we've done of 30 to 1, they're going to slap you on the back and buy you a cigar, right? But more for me, it galvanized all of our people across all the different markets that we have, and gave us the confidence to explore new and braver ways of telling bigger stories. And the thing about, you can't quantify the value of that, but once you discover how brave you can be, that doesn't, whether it's individuals who go on to do other things in other companies or the business you're working for, once you discover the transformational power of sticking your neck out and doing something ridiculous, utterly different, distinct, unique, and brave above all else, there weren't many safety nets. There was the one that I could call time and get us all out if somebody came to arrest us. But the goodwill that we found on the street and the excitement and the buzz that we created, people were phoning us up saying, Adobe's coming to England. Will you come and do the Frankenstein thing? We want to see it. And so that was the best campaign I've ever been a part of. The reason I'm always, or nowadays, I'm kind of wary of telling it is it does come with this caveat, which is that was exactly 10 years ago this April, right? That was 10 years ago. It came with no hard agreed budget. Like I said, my CMO is and was the fastest, most innovative entrepreneur, along with the CEO. Like, he's gone on to do brilliant things as well, all based on let's see what can work attitude. He pulled his budget out of his tochus and had no no understanding of what it was going to cost. All right, we'll try and do it within 35 grand. It came with no plan. It came with no agreement with sales and client renewal, with no thought of selling it into it. So I was given license. The reason it's my favorite piece, it was fun. It was hugely funny. It was really hilarious watching 25 big guys learn the Thriller dance and execute it on the streets of Salt Lake City. It's an odd place anyway, right?
Right.
I want to share something for your listeners. If I share my screen, share screen. Everyone who shares a screen talks you through exactly what they're doing. Entire screen, press, share. I want to talk to you about what campaigns used to look like and what campaigns now look like for me. And for good reason. I'm going to make this a bit bigger. Let me just find the right.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, the right slide. So what campaigns used to look like, in a sense, if you were really, really general about it and generic, is you've got a plan within your marketing team on the left-hand side. What's the big idea? Then you present and share it with some teams, and then you go to execute and go to market. And you see how much you can make out of it, and somebody afterwards, hopefully including you, decides whether it was successful or not. And off the back of that, you'll either increase your agency within your business and respect and maybe a promotion, or you'll lose your job. This is what campaigns look like now. It's a lot more complex. You don't have to read the whole lot, but all this tells you is there is a new way of working. 10 years on, it's like you start with, before you've even got to the idea, what does the campaign need to have to be successful, and who's involved, right?
Yeah.
And you have to put a forecast. You have to say, who's the target? You have to be able to tell anyone who's the target for this campaign. What's the big idea? What's the story? Who's involved? You have to have a model. This second one along the top is where I think most B2B marketers fall down. You haven't built a model for your campaign that predicts how much revenue it's going to generate, how many leads, and whatever you describe as brand awareness. Nobody's going to listen to you.
No.
The revenue guess doesn't have to be correct. The leads guess doesn't have to be correct. The important thing is, I mean, it can be more correct if you happen to do this sort of campaign the year before and you can see, well, let's add on 10% and see if we can optimize. But if you're doing this for the first time, it doesn't have to be absolutely correct. The mature, accepted, respectable thing to do that puts you in a decent position of influence is that you go to somebody with a forecast and you say, this is what I'm aiming for. And that way, everybody feels right. There's a safety net. There's a barrier here. There's a measure that we can say, well, this worked or this didn't. And if you are able to do whatever maths you can, do whatever predictions and calculations you can, but for God's sake, don't go in without being able to answer those questions, because ain't no one going to listen, right? Then down there, further on, check in with the teams, make them feel like they own it. For God's sake, don't let them own it. But that means bringing sales team on with you. Look at, if you can build a campaign plan and everyone's excited about it, they want to talk about it, suddenly it's everybody's campaign. And finally, execute the hell out of it and tweak and optimize as needed and enhance your rep. Who's involved at any one time is the thing we need to get better as B2B marketers at involving absolutely everybody for a number of reasons. One, because then they're excited and they can be, they might want you to tweak it or shape it for their benefit. But the more people you've got on board, the more successful your marketing campaign is going to be, not least because everyone's excited about it, because they'll lend a hand. You grow your marketing team by exponentially by however many people are in the business, but also everybody knows what you're doing. Everybody feels like they own it. Everybody feels like it's a part of their remit. Suddenly you are not on your own fighting to walk uphill with a flag against the wind. And the reason I've put a question mark by end is because it's sensible sometimes to have an end point for your, if it's a Black Friday campaign, right, or or a Mother's Day or an Easter campaign. Clearly, it's got a time, but there are certain campaigns that don't need to end. You can keep on reporting on measurement and success or not, but if it's working, that should become a part of your furniture. So with that, let me just stop sharing. I'm not sure that the Dump Frank campaign can ever happen again, because we had buy-in from the CEO, but nothing from anyone above him and nothing from anyone around him. The CMO was okay with it, right? But there were definite founder level figures that were well against it, and this is going to make us look small and tiny. There was no sense of a budget. There was no forecast at all. There was no projection on what's this going to do. Actually, in hindsight, what happened was ginormous for the business. However you made it, everybody loved it. Everybody bought into it. Everybody reaped the benefit of it. But beforehand, there was nobody ever said, Mark, by the way, before you leave for New York and Utah and spend all this money, how much do you think you're going to make for the business? Like, there was never any question, right? 10 years ago, it just didn't happen. Now, I would not dream of advising a B2B marketer to go in without that stuff. And so I wonder how useful that is for you and your listeners.
I think it's really useful because we just look at the fundamentals. Like, okay, let's assume that the world has changed. What are the fundamental learnings from the story? What I'm hearing is get in front of the target market, and turning up at a competitor's conference could be a way of doing it. Wherever they are, where's their attention right now? And turn up with something that's fun and interesting and makes them feel something. You know what I mean? That's one of the things I get a lot from you. Boring to brave, be bold, make them feel something, make them feel connected. You know, like whatever you do, get their attention in a fun, playful, creative way. When you talked about there was, the budget was unattached, it was made up. The word that came to me, the expression I sort of said earlier on was play money. Just say like, here's some money for play, and go at it. And actually, you said it again when you're having to pitch this internally, like getting everyone involved, but making it fun, making them feel they got ownership. And I think we see that, like we've all had that as marketeers when we've got a really hot campaign or a bit of creative. We're excited. We're jumping out of bed to like set that campaign live. And it's taking that energy in, getting in front of the target market, getting in front of stakeholders internally. That I think is part of the recipe for success, because we've also been involved with campaigns that people aren't enthusiastic about the creative.
Yeah, there's no point lower for a marketing leader than to be in a room with the salespeople sharing a new creative and watching them utterly disinterested. And by the way, in the same company, we had sales guys who were top of their game. Always, all of them thought they were the best. They all prided themselves on buying a brand new Beamer every year. With so it was kind of it wasn't cutthroat, but it was certainly prove yourself, sink or swim. And we'd go to them with campaigns. And my thing with the team at the time was, let's not let our great ideas stop at the marketing office door, right? Let's make sure they spread across the business. So never go without the sales guys going, this is it. Most of the time you'd get this reaction. You'd get 30% of them going, I'll take anything you say because every time you give it to me, it works. 30% of them going, I'm on the fence. I'll see how this goes before I jump in enthusiastically. And 30% going, don't tell me how to sell. I know how to sell, and like, I don't need your help, or I don't see any of my targets on that list, therefore I'm not interested. And so you kind of have to figure out how to make it appealing. And sometimes it's only looking back. What I remember, one of the best endorsements of our marketing campaigns I ever got was in that company, when one of the VPs said, every time I do a cold call and talk about the product first, I might convert 25-30% of the callers or push them through the funnel. Every time I start with your vision stuff and then get to the product, that doubles. And that was that's one guy looking backwards as opposed to trusting me forwards, who'd went, just keep doing whatever you're doing, because every time I start with whatever, and it's like in a marketing campaign, the salespeople aren't going to be selling your campaign creative like you do. There's nobody that's going to go to it with your level of passion and excitement. So write them their 3 bullet points so that you don't have a situation where somebody phones up and say, is this the dump front guys? And they go, I don't know what you're talking about, but I've got a great product to sell you. Make sure that they know 3 bullet points that they can answer that question and go, yeah, we're dump front because we believe. Or did you see our video? Would you like me to send it to you? Whatever it might be. And so, yeah, I've had big numbers before. I've also had flops, right? And I'm currently working in a company that is the best I've ever worked for in terms of understanding the whole necessity and putting experts by all 3 elements of great B2B marketing, which is the data piece, the storytelling craft, and making sure distribution works. It goes to the right person at the right time in the right way as a whole, right? I've never worked in a more holistically sort of successful drive, but that nothing will ever beat that for me. But I also would love any of your listeners, watchers, and tribe to prove to us all that that isn't just an age-old anomaly that can never happen again.
Oh, I mean, I'm up for that challenge personally. I think you just need someone who's open to have a bit of a play budget and see what we can do. But Mark, this has been fantastic. Bang on 13 minutes, spot on, and let's just have fun. Play money, it's what it's about.
Listen, very best of luck, and I look forward to hearing people who want to take on that challenge.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of them. All right, mate. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Cheers.